Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone had a good lunch. Welcome to Emotional Intelligence in Tech. This is all about building relationships with people. And so I thought that we begin by having a little competition to see who can meet the most people in this room. So this is only going to be about 20 seconds. I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to stand up and meet as many people as you can. Keep that number in your head. We're going to find out who the master meter is. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Meet as many people as you can in the room. Only 20 seconds. All right, 3, 2, 1, and stop. Stop meeting people. Stop meeting people. Keep that number in your head. Keep that number in your head. This time we're going to go second round. We're going to do 3 rounds, and then you can sit the rest of the day, okay? Promise. All right? This is our after lunch activity. So that was our first round. Keep that number in your head of how many people you met. Second round. I want you to meet as many people as you can, but this time there's one person in this room that I have drawn a smiley face on their hand. I want you to try and meet that person. I did it with your knowledge, don't worry. I want you to try and find that person with the smiley face on their hand. If you find that person, do not be a spoiled sport and yell it out for everyone, all right? Try and meet as many people as you can. Try and find the person with the smiley face on their hand. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right, 3, 2, 1, and stop. If you found that person, please keep it to yourself. We're going to reveal that person in just a moment. I told you we were going to have 3 rounds. This is our third and final round. This time, I want you to, you're going to have to stand up for this one. I want you to greet someone as if you are reuniting with a long-lost friend. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Greet someone as if you are reuniting with a long-lost friend. Three, 2, 1, and time. Okay, very good. Very good. Thank you. I told you that's the last time you're going to have to stand up for today. That was some after lunch exercise for you. So, who can tell me what was the challenge the first round? Most number of people. Tell me, what was your approach in that first round? How did you meet the most people? Hi, 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 hi. Yeah, I saw that. I saw there were some people going, hey. We see this sometimes whenever we come into a team, whenever we are maybe at an event like this. We want to meet a lot of people. And so it's very tempting to come into a new team, a new client base, a new company, a conference like this, and we go, hi, 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 hello, 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 great to meet you, my name is Amber, and then go, let me ask you, how many names do you remember of the people that you met? 0. Maybe one. The most simple one. Let's see here. I do want to reveal who the master meter is, so if you met 3 or more people, raise your hand. 5 or more. 7, 9, wow, okay, 11, okay, 10. Did you all meet 10? Oh, I did not bring 3 books. I brought 1. All right, see me afterwards and I will get each of you a book. Very good. All right, tell me, how was this different from the second round? What was the second round purpose? Yes. How was this approach different? There was a whole group of people over here. None of you introduced yourself. You just did this. I saw there were some people over here. Did not meet anyone. All you did was this. Saw someone over here. They didn't say hello, they just said, show me your hands. We see this happen sometimes in our organizations, right? We come into teams and we go, I need to find the one person that has that thing. If you don't have that, we're not talking, right? You don't have what I need? Okay, let me go somewhere else. I didn't see anyone. A question you could have asked was, hey, do you know the person that has the smiley face on their hand? There was strict timing. It was very fast. Okay, this is the moment of grand reveal. If you are the person that has the smiley face on your hand, please stand up. Right here in the front. Now, how is this different from our third and final round? What was the goal here? One person, maybe more time with that one person. Greet someone as if you've reunited with a long lost friend. Yes. So we may not meet as many people, but it's having those deeper conversations. And it's helping those conversations be more personal and understanding ourselves and the people that we are working with every day. Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is a muscle. If you were in the session yesterday, we were talking about how it takes practice. How many of you went home and practiced this last night? It's a muscle that we continuously practice every day through our conversations and through our everyday interactions. For those of you who weren't there yesterday, hello, my name is Amber Vanderburg, and I am the founder of the Pathways Group. So we are a global leadership development, people development company for tech organizations. And whenever we talk about EQ in tech, this really is so critical to your development, your success as a tech professional. I love some of these quotes. 75% of job success, 75% of job success in tech positions specifically is influenced by EQ. This is from Stanford Research Institute and Carnegie Mellon. They both did this research. Only 25% attributed to technical skills. Technical skills are important. Your EQ, significantly important. We just had some conversations with the IT director of KPN. He said the success of the next tech professionals is less about their ability to deliver and more about their ability to discover, asking great questions. Right. Use this last one. It's from the EMEA people director at Navan. Said EQ is like performance tuning for interpersonal relationships. It's taking this time to see how can we best work together. So, what does this look like? It looks like a programming model. All right, so we're going to look at this little by little throughout today. So, first things first, I'm going to give you the big picture, and then we'll go through it step by step. So, this is what the EQ programming model is. The data that is input into our lives, data meaning in our lives, anything we have experienced, that we have seen, that we have heard, those relationships, all of those are data points that come into our lives. Some of them are great, some of them, they can not be so great, right? So we have data points that come into our lives. Those are partnered with the values that we have. Our experiences and our values make up who we are. This impacts the self-talk that we have, the stories that we tell ourselves, which the stories that we tell ourselves can parlay into the emotions that we feel. The emotions that we feel impact our behaviors, which of course can impact our results. So this is what this programming model looks like on a large scale. So let's break it down into the data and the values, okay? So again, the data are the experiences that you have in your life. Thinking about tech specifically, what are the experiences that you have in previous workplaces, that you have on working in previous projects, that you have that inspired you to work in tech to begin with, right? What is this data that has played a part into your life, and what are the values that you have? Now, what we find within teams is those values can be very different. Right? It's not necessarily that one is better than another. It's that, I'm going to close this for just a second. Make sure we can hear okay. So that we have a shared set of values for our team. So I want you to think about what are some of the main values that impact me and my life. If I had to break it down into my top values, these are the things that mold and that shape our life. And so here's what I want us to do. I want to take a moment of self-reflection of what are the experiences and the values that I have in my life, and how do they impact the expectations that I have in working with a team. Now, this is an example of an activity that I might do when I'm working with a new client, when I'm working with a new team, when I'm working on a new project. I'm going to take a moment to clarify what are these expectations. So if you have a piece of paper, you can pull that out. If not, pull out the notes section on your phone, okay? Either way, I like this activity because it is exactly 2 minutes long, and it can reveal a lot whenever I am working in a new team. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about, based on my experiences, the values that I have, the current team that I am working with. If you're an individual contributor, the current clients that you're working with. What are my performance expectations, my relationship expectations of working with that group? Let me give you a couple examples. So within our company, we are a global company, and so we have people all over the world. And so whenever we have meetings, the likelihood of somebody staying up late or getting up early to attend that meeting is pretty big. And so we have a pretty big value of coming to these meetings on time, because it's the way that we show respect to the other people within the team. That would be an example of a performance expectation. Okay? I may also have, and that's more of a behavioral expectation, I might also have outcomes expectations. So at the end of a learning journey, we do very detailed reports that show the ROI with clear charts and data. Okay? And so there's an expectation that those reports be very clear and concise. Okay? So that's more of a performance or outcomes expectation. Right? What I want you to do is, looks like most people have their phone. If you have a piece of paper, then write 1 through 8, or you can do 8 boxes. If you have the notes section on your phone, I want you to write out 1 through 8, and I'm going to give you 20 seconds per number to write down a performance expectation that you have. So it could be, come to meetings on time, do reports clearly, treat people with respect, right? Have clear documentation. Okay, don't start yet. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. At the end of 20 seconds, I'm going to say next. You're going to move to that next number, write down a different expectation. At the end of about 2 minutes, we're going to have 8 different expectations. I'm going to share how we can debrief this with a team at the beginning of a project in just a moment. Okay. What questions do you have for me? Yes? Are the expectations only positive? I'm guessing that's yes. These are the ideal, what you would like to happen. Okay. Yes. This is what I would want to happen in this group. Yeah, not I'm expecting you to show up late. Yeah, I have an expectation. I would like for you to come on time. Right. Yeah, great clarification. What other questions? Okay, on your mark, get set, go. What is a performance expectation that you have? Okay, move on to number 2. Go to number 3. Move to number 4. Go to number 5. Go to 6. This is where it starts getting a little challenging. Go to 7. And finish 8. Three, 2, 1, and time. Okay. That went by pretty fast. Give me some feedback, fist of 5. 5 being Amber, that was pretty easy. I could have come up with 3 or 4 more expectations. 0 being Amber, that was the worst experience of my life. You're lucky I didn't go running out of this room. How is that? Fist of 5, how would you say? 3s, 4s, 5s, good. That's if you're doing this with your team and you're getting mostly 1s and 2s, that means we need to have a bigger conversation, right? Because that's the team saying, I don't know what these expectations are, okay? I want you to take just a moment and share. I'm going to give you literally like 30 seconds and share with your partners some of the examples of expectations that you wrote down. What are some of those expectations? Okay, 3, 2, 1, and let's go ahead and bring it back. All right. I did hear, man, that went pretty fast. If you do this with your team, I gave you 20 seconds. If you want to extend it to 30, that is okay. I wouldn't extend it past that. So you can do a little bit of extra time if need be. This is how I made debrief an exercise like this. Again, especially if I'm with a new team or a new client. My goal here is to have at least 5 or more areas of similarity. Right? So there might be 2 or 3 that are different. But if I have only 1 area of similarity in our expectations, we need to have a different conversation. Right? Of what are the main expectations and values of this team moving forward. This is a really powerful way to very quickly identify the areas of similarity and dissimilarity within the team. I want to ask you a couple of questions as you look at your list. A, does your team know that those are expectations? And also, does your team understand why those are expectations? Okay. Are we coming to meetings on time just because Amber wants meetings to start on time? No, there's other meanings behind that for our team. So what we can do, oh, do we have a question? No. Okay. So what we can do is take this time to very quickly write out, again, about 2 minutes, write out some of our performance expectations, and then have some of those conversations, meaningful conversations with our team. We actually call these proactive conversations. So here we're looking at, based off of my experiences and the values that I have, this is what I am expecting as I am coming into this working relationship. And so I want to ask one more question. Looking at that list, what is your response whenever those expectations are not met? These are your top 8 values or top 8 expectations. Sorry, say that again. How do you respond whenever those expectations are not met? Yeah. Yes. What do you do? Or what do you think? Here, we have an opportunity to look at our self-talk. So when somebody, when someone does not do proper documentation, right? What is my self-talk whenever that happens? And so here we can have proactive conversations. And this is really powerful because it can help us to confront one of the biggest challenges in communication amongst teams. And that is, the fancy word for this is the fundamental attribution error. Right, so that's the communication term for it. The fundamental attribution error is really just a fancy way of saying this. Too often times we judge other people by their outcomes while we judge ourselves by our intentions. Right? We see this happen when we're driving down the road. Somebody cuts us off and clearly they're a terrible driver. They're not paying attention. We need to just take their keys and get them off the road. They're such a hazard. We do the same thing. We didn't mean to do so. I was working with a team that actually had the fundamental attribution error in mind. They said, Amber, there is a person on our team, and whenever they speak, they are so abrupt. Some said abrasive. Some even said malicious. We don't like this person speaking within our team. And so we kept the fundamental attribution error in mind. And so I asked the person, I said, what is your intention whenever you're speaking? And he said, Amber, I'm intending to be passionate. I'm intending to be persuasive. And so here we have a disconnect, right? We have a gap between intended behavior and perceived behavior. By asking for intention, we're able to bring the two closer together. So we see this on that personal level of what is that intention behind those actions. We're going to go through a tool to discover that in just a moment. I want to stay on these proactive conversations because a way that we debrief an 8-box challenge like this could look like this. I was working with one team, and the team collectively had been through several projects together. And it had been, what's the euphemism for this? Traumatic in the way that they had worked together. They said, Amber, we get paralyzed in our decision making. It is paralysis by analysis, paralysis by analysis, paralysis by analysis. And so now this team had the biggest project that they were going to work on. Now, let's go back here and look at this. The experiences they've had together is we've had trouble making decisions as a team. We value meeting our deadlines and making great decisions. The stories we tell ourselves is we have the biggest project we've ever done. We're in for a bumpy ride. How do we address this? Right? So the emotion was high anxiety. And so what we did is we implemented the Elmo technique that said, hey, we're going to time box, time to define a problem, time to discuss solutions, time for final remarks, and then Elmo, which stood for enough, let's move on. We're making a decision. Right? And so for this group, this was transformational in the way that they were working together, right? Enough, let's move on. right? There was another group that had a similar challenge, and so they implemented the GETMO technique, good enough to move on. This is the standard, right? And so they're discussing what is the data we've had, the values that we have, the stories that we're telling, okay? So here we are using this programming model. Let's talk about how we can use this on an individual level. Okay, I just shared a couple of stories of teams that were experiencing some anxiety, some uncertainty. Shout out a couple other emotions that you might feel whenever you are working on a project with a team. They could be good, negative. Say it again. Engagement, yes. I get to work with this team and I get to be creative. I get to be engaged. Frustration. We encountered some big problems and now we have to figure this out. Yeah. Give me one more. Disappointment. Yes. What was the last one? Pride. To be proud of what we've done. Yes. Yes, I feel excited for what I've done. I feel pride in good work. Absolutely. So these are the types of emotions that we can feel. And so I can ask myself, okay, whenever I feel these emotions, what is the story that I told myself to get to that emotion, right? So now the emotions can really be a trigger point for me. So if I'm feeling frustrated, what is the self-talk that led to that frustration? What are the values and what are the experiences or the data that's helped contribute to that? Okay? So here we can use this model to better understand, okay, what has led to me feeling this feeling? Okay? So what has led to me feeling this feeling? And so sometimes this does mean we spend time in reflection, right? I'm a firm believer that experiences, they're only as good as the time spent reflected upon them. So your reflection might be going on a long walk, talking about it with someone, writing it down. Right? In some way, spend some time reflecting on the experiences that you've had. For other people, this may also mean understanding their emotion, story, values, data. Okay? And so we want to make sure that we are listening for this intent and meaning. Let me give you a couple of examples of what that means whenever we're having these conversations. Whenever we are working with someone, with a team that may have higher emotions, and I want to show empathy, the word empathy just means that we are understanding the fact and the feeling. I could be wrong or correct in one or both. Okay? So this is what this means. I want to check for empathy. Now, empathy does not mean that I agree with the fact or agree with the feeling. It just means that I'm understanding where the person is. By using empathy, I'm able to better navigate this conversation. All right? So let me give a couple examples of what this could be. So let's say somebody comes up to me and they say this process change is a waste of time. It's just more red tape. It's causing more lag times. It's going to impact our deadline. The client won't be happy. And it's all easily avoided. All right, fact and feeling. Let's look at feeling here. What could be some feelings here? Anger. I'm not angry, I'm overwhelmed. Maybe I'm not overwhelmed. What am I? I'm fearful. I have anxiety. Anger, fear, anxiety. Disappointment. The feelings of the person who wrote this. So if somebody comes to me and says this, now, somebody who comes to me who is disappointed, I'm going to navigate that conversation much differently than someone who is angry, right? Someone who says, no, I feel frustrated. That's a different emotion that I'm going to help navigate. Now, what might be a fact of what is causing this emotion? A misunderstanding? Yes. Of the person? Yes. Yeah. It could be, I just don't like this process change. It could be, I don't like that this is the 5th process change that we've had this month. It could be, I don't like the person that's implementing the process change. It could be, I've already expressed my discontent about this process change and I don't feel heard. No, I don't have the training for this process change. Now, I don't know if any of this is correct until I've used an empathy statement, okay? So, an empathy statement could sound like this. Whoops. It could sound like this. Let's go back here. I'm just going to choose one, all right? I'm going to use my most educated response here and say, it sounds like you're frustrated because you don't have the training for this new process change. Okay? This is where an empathy statement many times is a miss, okay? So after I've said, it sounds like you're frustrated because you don't have the training for this new process change, what typically do we hear after that? We get that if we pause. So many times I'll hear, it sounds like you're frustrated because of this process change. And I get it, man. It's a tough process change. I don't necessarily have all the training. And we keep on talking. We don't have clarification yet. And so there's a power in this pause for either correction or confirmation. Right? So if I'm correct, I'm going to hear, yes, I am frustrated because of this change. If I'm incorrect, I'm going to be corrected. No, I'm not frustrated. I am mad. Now I have the information I need to properly navigate this conversation. Okay? Yeah, it could just be, hey, we don't know until we've gotten the confirmation or the correction of both the fact and the feeling. Now, I could be correct in the fact and wrong in the feeling, and vice versa. So I want to make sure that I'm getting that confirmation in both. So I'm going to wait for it. I'm going to wait for this pause, wait for this pause, wait for this pause, wait for this pause. There's power in a pause, okay? So first things first, we want to make sure that we wait for the pause for a confirmation or correction. Now let's talk about the second pause. Sometimes I hear an empathy statement sound a little something like this. It sounds like you're frustrated because you don't have the training for this new process change. But this is happening. Deal with it. It may even sound kinder than that, right? It sounds like you're frustrated because of this it sounds like you're frustrated because you don't have the training for this process change. But it'll be fine. We're going to work through it. It'll be great. Whenever we use the word but, it negates everything that we've said beforehand. Right? Whenever we say but, whenever we say the word however, it negates everything beforehand. Right? So, think about this, right? Someone may come up to you and they say, wow, you're a really good developer, but anything I could say after that. Are you going to remember you're a really good developer? No. Right. So what do we use instead? A pause. Okay? Yes.
I just have a question because I feel like it must be a lot of knowledge about different persons and how to approach them because I couldn't say that in my country because then I would hurt them. I couldn't talk about feelings like you feel frustrated, they will feel like negativity. And let's say you don't have enough knowledge, they will get like very
aggressive.
So it's I think we have to address it like depends on the person's everything.
I love it. I want to make sure everyone heard that in the back because it's very important. The way, the directness in which I say this may be less direct in certain countries or in certain cultures, different people, personalities that I'm working with. So in that case, I'm still want to check for fact and feeling. I may not be so direct. I may be more indirect about it. Okay, so I might ask, so tell you, let's talk about this, and we may have a longer conversation. My goal in the conversation is to seek that understanding. Yeah, that's a great call out. Yeah, we all heard that in the back. Yeah, that's a great call out. So after we've checked for that confirmation or correction, we don't want to negate that with a but. And so instead, we're going to replace that with a pause. So I'll stick with the example that we've gone with. You know, sounds like you're frustrated because of the process change. Pause. Let's work together to see what training we can help provide. Here, that's not that different from, it sounds like you're frustrated because you don't have the training for this process change, but we'll figure it out, right? We're going to get you the training. That pause lets the empathy statement stand on its own and lets the practical needs conversation stand on its own as well. It's saying, hey, I understand you in some way. Right? I'm seeking that understanding. Okay, so how long is an ideal pause? Let's get really practical here. This actually was a question that was asked by MIT, and they found out that pausing for just 2 seconds before responding in a conversation increased trust levels by up to 40%. 40%! You know what happens in those 2 seconds? It says, I'm not just waiting for you to stop talking so I can respond. I'm taking a moment to consider what you have said, and I'm thinking through my response. This is not a long time, just a couple of seconds to think through this. Okay? I love this. Why is it important to build trust? Well, I love this quote from Stephen Covey. In a high-trust relationship, you can say the wrong thing, and people will still get your meaning. In a low-trust relationship, you can be measured and even precise, and they're still going to misinterpret you. This is important because what we've talked about, I don't want you to walk away saying, okay, did I pause for 2 seconds or did I pause for 1.5? Did I say the word by here? It's that building that relationship, understanding your people, right? Understanding the people that we're speaking to. Okay. So we talked about our data, values, stories, talked a bit about the emotions. So whenever I have experienced these high emotions, I can reverse engineer and say, well, what are the stories that I've told myself to hear, right? What's the conversation, right? What are the values? What is the data that has been input into my life? So I want to talk about this for just a moment more. So let's say that we have a couple of people. One person has their leader, has the manager come and say, hey, I'd like to offer some insight on how to improve the way that you're writing this code. And there's some errors going on. So I want to work with you to help improve the way that this code is being written. So I now have a choice in the emotion that or in the stories that I'm telling myself. I can say, here we go again, always correcting my work, always coming in and telling me what I need to do. Why can't they just step back and let me do what I'm good at doing? I know I'm a good developer. This is how I know how to write code. So I can go down that hole. I can say, man, they're going to offer corrections again. Maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I need a lot more help. I might say, I am so grateful that I have a leader that's willing to invest in my development and help me to be a better. any of these options are choices of self-talk, right? Of the stories that I'm interpreting this, okay? And so whenever I have these emotions, I can say, well, what's the story that can help lead to those emotions? And I can tell you, Amber has to, look at that self-talk, right? Many times even in my life, okay? This can be impacted by your personality. So personality can be very insightful of where you lie on a personality assessment. I'm not here to advocate for one assessment over another. So some people like DISC, Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, colors. There's a million personality assessments. I'm not here to advocate for one or the other. I think that they're all fairly similar. The biggest challenge is how you use them. So I'm going to look at DISC just as an example. So DISC is an example of a personality assessment. And what it essentially says is that there are 4 major categories to help give some insight into the way that our personalities are. And there generally is one that is more dominant, and then you have a secondary. So you have dominance is D, very direct, firm, forceful. Influence is your I, more outgoing, enthusiastic. You have conscientiousness, more analytical, precise, systematic. And then you have steadiness, which is more even-tempered, patient, and tactful. There are free assessments online. You go online, there's any of these that you can take. So I'm curious, when we think about this audience, where do we think the majority of developers lie in the DISC profile? Overwhelmingly C, yes. And that's good, right? Like, this is a part of the role, right? How about, Yes, yeah. It's usually a CS or a CD is that you see quite a bit of. Now, think about the people outside of your immediate team and other departments that you collaborate with. Where do they more than likely lie? DI, yeah. You might see an ID or a DI, yeah. And this is good, right? This is designed on purpose, so you have some of this balance. Understanding this of who you're actually speaking to and having this as a conversation, right, is going to be really important. So, yeah, this is where you see the majority for this audience. This is where we've already talked about this, DICS. So the reality is that recognizing this, it is important. But too often, I see teams take a personality assessment and then put it in a drawer. Or take a personality assessment and then start saying things like this of, oh, well, you're a high I, so of course you'd say that. Or, S's, of course we act this way. That's not what this means. Personality assessments can be a powerful tool and an insight whenever used appropriately. So this is an example where I highly suggest using some sort of a coach or a facilitator, someone to help out with that. So to me, it's very similar to Agile. It's a very powerful tool whenever it's used properly. If not, it can lead to some challenges, okay? So you want to make sure that we're using this appropriately. And so how do we use this appropriately? We can adapt a growth mindset and say, hey, I now, hopefully throughout our time together, you've taken some time to say, okay, I might understand even a few additional aspects or corners of me and myself. Now, how do I take that insight and grow? How do I take that insight and be better, right? And so part of adapting that growth mindset is actually avoiding some of these I am and you are statements, right? So rather than saying I am not good at coding, I instead say, hey, I'm still learning coding. Right? I am is definite. You are is definite. Here, we're going away, right? You are a natural with databases, so this is on the positive side. You've worked hard to become skilled with databases. This attributes to the skill, the work ethic that's been put here. All right. I am a C type, so I'm not good at brainstorming new ideas. Well, that's not true, right? I say I'm naturally detailed. With practice, I can work on improving my creative thinking and brainstorming skills. Great. All right. So here, we're adapting this mindset. Whoops, hold on. We're going to go forward here. Wait, we're going to keep on going forward here. Sorry. What we're going to do is we're going to adapt a real growth mindset to say, hey, I am continuously being better today than I am, being better today than I was yesterday. I can be better tomorrow than I am today. Now, you might be hearing this and going, wow, Amber, this is really nice. I really wish that somebody else in my team would take a course like this. You can't change another person's EQ. You can only change your responses. And so, what can we do? We can take the time to really invest in two things. We can take the time to invest in understanding ourselves better. Right? What are the experiences that make up our life? What are the stories that we get to tell ourselves? What are the emotions that we feel? And the more we're in tune with that, the more that we can really adjust and assess and say, all right, I'm going to make these adjustments. I can move here. I can be better. I reserve the right to be smarter tomorrow than I am today. I reserve the right to be better tomorrow than I am today. So that's the first thing, understanding ourselves. And the second is better understanding the people that we work with, the people that we interact with every day, using some of these empathy statements, understanding both the fact and the feeling, helping to make that stronger connection, not just with a hi, but truly embracing some of these conversations. So here's what I want you to do. As you go out today, I want you to look at these programming models and say, what is the behavior? What are the results that I desire? Or what are the results that I desire? In order to get those desired results, what are the behaviors that I need to have? What are the emotions that I feel that spark those behaviors? What are the stories that I tell myself, the data and the values that impact those stories? Friends, we started this conversation by talking about building connections with other people. Heard me say it before, I'll say it again. I'm a big believer that if we can achieve our dreams all on our own, we're not dreaming big enough. By enhancing our EQ, we're able to not only become better versions of ourselves, we're able to collaborate with the people that surround us to create things even better than before. So I encourage you to take some of these skills, and I thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.